Experience from this past year actually happened during the second week on the job for me covering the White House. There was a background briefing with Chief of Staff Kelly, and about 5 minutes the door swings open, and lo and behold, it's President Trump.
Breaking news. President Trump speaking to reporters moments ago in a surprise question and answer session.
He was just freewheeling.
Fortunately, we were already recording on our phone, so we were able to capture everything.
Do you want citizenship for Dreamers?
We're going to morph into it.
Are you going to talk to Mullen?
I'm looking forward to it, actually.
That is when I thought to myself, this president is unpredictable. You never know what you're going to get. Just a background briefing with his chief of staff could create worldwide headlines by the president barging in.
White House correspondent Pamela Brown talking about a memorable moment on the job.
2 weeks into this new stint
2
for
weeks
her,
in, the President of the United States, his own communications director, delivering those communications. We are in special live coverage of quite a night. The President speaking in Michigan and, of course, the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Let's go to the red carpet. CNN Justice reporter Laura Jarrett is there. CNN White House reporter Kate Bennett is there. I am excited about this because comedian Michelle Wolf will be on in a little bit. I've been watching her stuff for the last few weeks.
Great.
She's freaking hilarious.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited for that. What can we expect over the next couple hours?
Well, one thing we've seen, John, here is several members of the cabinet, of the administration, coming out in full force. Everyone from Kellyanne Conway to White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders, as well as a slew of former officials, including former Chief of Staff Reince Priebus, as well as Gary Cohn. And it's interesting, we've asked them, how come they came this time around, this second year, when last year many of them did not show up? And they said they were actually encouraged to come by President Trump, even though he is obviously not in attendance tonight. He's at that rally in Michigan, but they all seem very supportive of the evening.
They did. And the other thing that was odd in this sort of fever dream that is the White House Correspondents' Dinner arrivals is Michael Avenatti was here, Stormy Daniels' attorney, and I asked him, I said, do you think you're going to be in the routine tonight? Do you think you're going to be joked about by Michelle Wolf? And he said, it's possible. I mean, anything is possible when you've got Avenatti standing next to Kellyanne Conway, standing next to the press secretary. He also said that there's a natural tension. I mean, everyone likes to sort of put aside politics this evening and just sort of nerd prom it up, but Avenatti did say there is this undeniable sort of tension in the air. It's a partisan feeling. However, as you said, the president himself apparently encouraged several members of his staff to come tonight, and they turned out. You know, the first one on the carpet, and this was Omarosa, and she was out here fluffing her dress, doing her red carpet thing, and I think, again, like Michelle Wolf should have some fun with the attendees. They will know that they're certainly up for fodder. They're up to be made fun of. It almost becomes a roast in a way tonight.
Yeah. But one of the things you hear a lot is, you know, it's really an evening about reporters and it's about journalism. In fact, the money that is raised at the dinner tonight goes to journalism scholarships. So at the end of the day, it's really a celebration of the First Amendment.
So true.
I'm glad you brought it back to that, because that is what it's all about tonight. Guys, thank you very much. We appreciate it. We'll check back with you in a moment. Someone who is talking politics a lot tonight in another Washington far, far away is the president. President Trump holding this big rally in Washington Township, Michigan, and he just talked about the midterm elections. Listen to this.
To keep the House. Because if you listen to Maxine Waters, she goes around saying, we will impeach him. We will impeach him. Then people said, but he hasn't done anything wrong. Oh, that doesn't matter. We will impeach the president. So I don't think we're going to have a lot of happy people if that happens. I think it's going to be a little bit tough. But she goes around, and some others, we will impeach him. Doesn't matter if you do anything right or wrong. They want to do that. We got to win the House. And you know what? We're going to win anyway. But we're going to win the House.
Interesting.
We got to win, but we're going to win anyway.
We got to win, but we're going to win. And if we don't win, I'm going to be impeached. 3 separate messages there, all being delivered to an audience. Very interesting to see. Kevin Madden, it is a strategy we are seeing now from Republicans to raise the stakes and say, look, if the Democrats do take back the House, the president could very well be impeached. Is that salient? Does that resonate with voters in the districts that matter?
In the district, well, let's define districts that matter.
Right.
For base voters in districts that matter, it does matter. But the problem is that the reasons that they're districts that matter is there's not enough base voters to win those districts. So it's whether or not it's an animating issue for the swing voters that are going to make or break those issues.
And is it?
And it's not. It's not.
And
because what it does is, just real quickly, is it makes the midterms a referendum on Donald Trump, which is what you don't want.
It's in fact
a lot
the
of these
last thing you
candidates,
want,
right?
right?
A lot of these candidates, what they want to do in order to win in these districts is get out of the national jet stream, localize and personalize that race.
And Joan, you've even seen some very prominent Democrats warning against running
Nancy
on
Pelosi
impeaching the president.
Has warned against running. Has said
Emanuel.
I mean, people are warning against it. People do know it's dangerous. People do know it's divisive. Of course, it's on the table if it's proven that he's done something wrong. If Robert Mueller comes back with a long list of findings that are disturbing, no one should take it off the table entirely. No one can take it off the table. But no Democrats are going, well, my friend Maxine Waters is, but most Democrats are not doing that wisely, I think. So he's making this up to please his crowd.
Well, they're not campaigning on it. Most Democrats are not campaigning on it. You know, Catherine, is it unfair to suggest right now impeachment just would never happen? There's a 0% chance impeachment will happen with a Republican House. If a Democratic House, that's not a zero number anymore.
Right. Certainly that is a subtext here, but Joan is right that if you look at what is happening in the races around the country that we've seen so far, the special elections, this has not been a core issue. It's been about health care. It's been about other economic issues. On both sides, mind you, both Republicans and Democrats have been talking about that. I mean, you have Republicans who are talking about how much they love Trump, of course, but they're not saying you got to elect me because otherwise the president will get impeached. Again, this is the subtext of all of this, but it's not really the rallying cry.
Right, and once you get into that space, you've, as Kevin correctly pointed out, in the 25 to 45 districts that are swing districts or contested districts right now, normally it would be about 25, but because the landscape looks so bad for Republicans, it's about 45 seats that are really in play. Once you're playing a base-only game in those districts, you're at a disadvantage if you're a Republican right now, because base won't get you there. Base is going to get you to 40, 42, 44% in a lot of these places. And what we've seen in the 40-plus races in 17 and 18 is that Democrats will crawl over broken glass to vote against people who are supporting Donald Trump. And they're more active and energized right now than Republicans are. And if you end up with that being the qualification, it's saying to Democrats, yes, this is going to keep us motivated, keep us moving forward. And it's going to say to Republicans, we're only speaking to the tribe. We're not trying to get outside of our base. We're not trying to get outside of the core.
We want to go back to the red carpet of the White House Correspondents' Dinner right now. Jonathan Martin from the New York Times, CNN analyst, is there, and someone who just wrote a story basically on this very subject, the issue of impeachment, how it's being used by Republicans, heading into the 2018 elections. Jonathan.
Yeah, it's extraordinary that you're seeing the president invoke the prospect of his own impeachment, John, at a rally here. But this is kind of where we're at with this president. He and a lot of folks around him believe that this is one of the best ways to rally the conservative base in a year where it's the left that's got more energy and enthusiasm. That if you raise the prospect, John, of his impeachment, that could be what gets out the sort of Trump loyalists, the Trump devotees, who may not otherwise support more conventional GOP candidates. That the risk of him being impeached could be the kind of motivating tool that his base needs to get fired up this fall.
So, Jonathan, from the folks you've spoken with, I mean, is that a winning strategy for this president? Is this the beginning of many, many more moments where the president talks about his own potential impeachment?
Well, absolutely. In fact, he has used that line about Maxine Waters, by my count, I think 4 times now in the last 6 weeks. So this is not a new thing for him, and you're seeing it creep up in some campaigns. Ted Cruz, for example, mentioned the possibility of impeachment at his campaign launch a few weeks ago. So, yeah, I think this is going to be mentioned more and more as we get closer to the summer and the fall, because the Republicans need something to get their folks fired up. Look, Democrats have an easy turnout lever. It's called Donald John Trump. That gets their base fired up. Republicans need something equivalent. And this is, by the way, the problem that Democrats and Obama had in the last 8 years, was how do you get people fired up when the president himself is not on the ballot. So that's what the GOP is now trying to figure out, is how do we get our folks out? And the tax bill clearly does not have the punch, as of right now at least, that a lot of folks from the party thought it would. So what's the alternative? Trying to scare folks about the possibility of, an impeachment trial is one potential way.
Jonathan Martin at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Jonathan, but just before we let you go, this is a black tie event. Let me ask you, who are you wearing tonight?
Right. It's a really great designer, Brooks Brothers. They're hot. They're big in Milan, all over the runways these days. And John, when you think me and my reporting, I know, red carpet is the first thing that comes to mind typically.
It is typically. It's okay. John is wearing checkers and stripes.
I am wearing checkers and stripes.
As Phil Mudd pointed out.
And Jonathan Martin.
All right. Thanks, John.
1978 Monday Night Football called and wants his jacket back. All right. Have a great night,
Frank
Jonathan
Gifford
Martin.
was a great running back. See ya.
All right, thank you so much, Jonathan Martin. We're awaiting the White House Correspondents' Dinner to officially begin. It feels like it began a long time ago, but that was just all the red carpet and all that, and the watered-down drinks, as Phil Mudd said. The dinner is about to begin, and we have a lot of other breaking news to talk about as well. The president holding this rally in Washington Township, Michigan, weighing in on that Russian lawyer at the center of that infamous Trump Tower meeting. Now says she's an informant. A lot ahead.
It took